Greetings, my name is Mark. I'm a self-published author, designer, and marketer. Welcome to Unlimited Story, unlimited-story.com, a channel dedicated to writing, world building, marketing, and most importantly, getting things done. If that's interesting to you, consider hopping on our Discord where we share, critique, and discuss each other's work. We also have an affiliate podcast. Everything you need to know is in the description below or at unlimited-story.com. In this video, I'm going to be covering beta reading, specifically beta reading from the author's perspective. So if that's why you're here, stick around and watch this video. Beta reading. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're an author and you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. But that's okay, because this video is going to cover essentially everything you're going to need to know to pull off a beta reading from start to finish. There'll also be some other content that I have in other videos that I'll link to in the description below. So the first thing I'll go over is what is beta reading, specifically the who, what, where, when, and why. Who's involved with beta reading? Specifically the author, the one running the beta read, and then the beta readers who are actually reading the chapters and then filling out the surveys and giving you information. Now, these people do not need to be your target audience. It is helpful if they are, but it is absolutely not necessary. What I would tell you is, if you're writing something like horror and your readers hate horror, I would not, that is a terrible idea. They just won't match. Obviously, you may be thinking that they're going to love this, but if they just don't like it to begin with, then you're not going to get good results. Essentially, you want to get people who like to read, that are open-minded, and they don't necessarily have to like that specific subject. Here's one important thing, and I'll bring it up probably multiple times in this video. Writing is storytelling, and a good story is enjoyed by everyone. And storytelling has been around for centuries. Humans have been doing it forever. So I want you to really think about it like this. Are you telling a story that is interesting? If that is the case, virtually everyone will enjoy it. Now, beta reader acquisition is probably one of the hardest things to do, especially if you're new and nobody knows your writing and no one really even knows if they're going to get something good or even enjoy this whole process. So what I'll tell you is, if it's your first book, take what you can get. Just send it out to the masses and see what you get. Ultimately, in the end, you're looking at maybe 25, 50% at best who are going to actually respond and do some of the work. In the end, about 25 to 33% complete the entire beta reading process. So that's just kind of something to give you an idea. Those are the numbers that I've run into. And if you're looking at people who are, absolute strangers, okay, people you don't know, people you found online who you convinced to do it, they're even less likely to complete the beta reading. I personally have, friends, coworkers, I have some family do it. These are people that I trust. These are people who have been honest with me. So I've kept them around, and those people are far more likely to complete. But again, it's never a guarantee. You're gonna end up having to take what you can get. That's what it's like. So what is beta reading? Essentially, it's just like how software developers do beta testing and then release it to beta testers to give them feedback and help them squash bugs. You're in the same boat. You are sending out your early version of the book to beta testers to basically give you feedback. Hey, this is inconsistent. This character is all over the place. This doesn't make sense. This is talked about for way too long. This is talked about for way too little. All these things are going to help you make a better book. 100% guaranteed. From there, once you have all the information from your beta readers, it's really up to you to decide what you're going to be changing, because remember, this is your book. You're allowed to do whatever you want. So you have to look at what goals you were hoping to achieve with this book, and then, kind of just make some decisions. For example, if one of your readers says, I don't like how this character works, but if you're happy with it and that's what you were intended, then you did exactly what you wanted. That's great. Keep it. Don't change it. So where is beta reading? Well, chances are it's on your computer and mobile device as you share your current version of the book with your beta readers. Personally, I do this after I've completed a rough draft and it is edited, so it's pretty clean for people to actually look at, and you really don't want them to be getting distracted by grammatical errors and any other issues that you could have addressed that'll affect their ability to do a good job and produce quality reviews. As far as when, well, it's basically whenever you think you're ready. Like, just go ahead and start doing it. What I will tell you is to be very specific as far as a time frame as when it is starting and when it is ending, so that way your beta readers are able to actually fulfill, and meet your timeline. So why do a beta reading? Really, this is like one of the most important questions you should be asking. And I can tell you with 100% certainty, and I do not say 100% certainty many times in my life, okay? It will make your writing better. Not only your writing, your books, everything. It will make you think differently. You will see things differently. You will become more aware. So I absolutely 100%, I always do a beta reading. I would never skip it, ever. People are going to find things that you never even thought were possible. They are going to be confused over things that you thought was like, oh, hey, I made this very clear in this chapter, and this chapter. No. Beta readers will show you exactly where the holes are, where you needed to refresh their memory on something. This is absolutely crucial thing to do. So never skip it. I promise you, it is going to open your eyes and it will make your writing, your current project better, and all projects going forward. So first thing I really want to cover with beta reading kind of is all encompassing of writing and anything creative in general, okay? So what I'm saying is there is no right or wrong, okay? There are best practices, of course, but if you want to write a book where your main character dies or blows up every chapter and comes back with no explanation, go ahead. This is your book, this is your story, this is your project. You are allowed to do whatever you want. And the feedback that you get from beta readers, you can ignore all of it if you want. That said, these people are trying to help you, and the information that they're providing is useful. So again, I'll just reiterate, you can do whatever you want. This is your project. Be aware that the decisions you make will affect its overall sales, its reviews, and its marketability. So I've already covered the first step of beta reading a little bit, which is acquisition. Acquisition of beta readers is probably one of the hardest things that you're going to do because it's just incredibly painful. So the internet is a big place, and you can find lots of strangers online who are willing to, quote unquote, read your book. But really, it doesn't matter how many people say they're going to read your book. What ultimately matters is how many people who will actually read your book. And also, most importantly, follow the instructions. So if you tell people, like I do, hey, please fill out a survey after every chapter, and they only fill out one at the end, that really wasn't very useful to you. So ultimately, what's most important is that you get a large pool of beta readers who are going to hopefully get to the end. Again, I find that maybe 25 to 33% of them actually do the whole project, okay? From start to finish, they fill out the surveys as I had hoped, and it's great. And again, the people who are a little bit closer to you, friends, family, people who actually know you and are a little bit more committed, those are the gems. And as far as good beta readers, you keep them. You never, ever lose them. You as a writer or creative person are getting better over the course of time with practice. Beta readers are the same way, same with editors. So once you find people who you deem are good, reliable, keep them. Never lose them. Worship the ground they walk on. It is absolutely essential that you build a solid team, because as you grow and develop, it just makes everything so much easier. You spend less time beta reading, you have to spend less time hounding people to get done. Man, I will tell you, the beta readers that I have now, I am so grateful to have them, and the fact that they do a good job and they know what to look for. It's precious. I assure you, it is essential to my writing. Now that you've acquired beta readers, the next step is data collection. So data collection sounds really fancy, but really it's just a way of you getting a bunch of information from your beta readers. So there's a variety of ways you can do it. You could have it written. I prefer digital because it gives me a fancy spreadsheet which allows me to analyze data later down the road. I use Google Forms. I'll probably make a video about that, so just kind of, subscribe, or maybe I'll put it in the description below. Now, huge props to Jenna Morsi, because I actually watched her videos like 5 years ago to make sure that what I was doing actually made sense. And she gave out a bunch of tips on how to, what questions to really ask. So I've used some of those, and I've also made some changes. I have my list of questions also in the description, but I will read them out right now. The questions are, and I'm just going to read them off my own questionnaires. What section did you read? Because that's really important when you're like breaking things down. Like if they're just telling you, hey, this is the chapter where blah 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 kills XYZ, be like, that's not great. So the first question should always be, what chapter are you reading? After that, initial thoughts, which is really great because you get a good overview of like what they felt about the chapter right out of the gate. That is what you definitely want to hit them with. Like, you just finished a chapter. What are your thoughts after reading this chunk of text? Okay, what was your favorite part? Here's the key one. Why? Because telling that you like, oh, I liked when he picked up the spear. Why? Just tell me why. Why is like the most crucial piece that you could ask. And don't get me wrong, there are parts where they may not have a favorite, and that's okay. But that's not every chapter. Not every chapter should have, every chapter should have something. Not all of them, but most of them, most chapters should have a favorite something. Now, they don't have to have it for every single chapter, don't get me wrong. Some chapters are just not overall enjoyable, but there should be at least something from most chapters that people can enjoy. If not, that is a huge problem and a big red flag to you. Okay? Next up, least favorite part and why. Again, people may or may not have a least favorite part, but there should be something that they don't like, that whether it's someone that got killed or something that just kind of makes them feel a certain way. Remember, people are reading these books or looking at creative stuff that's being made, and they're paying for a feeling. They want to feel something. If somebody feels exactly the same way at the beginning of a movie and at the end of the movie, what did it achieve? Same of a book, comic book, whatever. You want to make them feel a certain way at the end of your book. They should be going through this whole story and feeling something throughout it. If not, that's not good. Really, that you want to be able to invoke something, whether it's a thought or a feeling, by the end of what's written. All right, the next question is anything that is unclear or confusing. This is incredibly important, and it has really, really helped me out. If you have just one person who says, "Oh, I didn't get this," but the rest of your beta readers said, "Yep, no problem. There was nothing else that was unclear." Chances are that person's just an outlier. They didn't read a certain part. Everything's good, no need to make a change. But if you notice a trend, like 25%, maybe even 10%, all it takes is a few sentences to be like, oh, hey, done. And you are, everyone is back on the same page. If it's something complicated, like, especially if it's incredibly important to your plot, it means, really, you want to bump this up, like, put some more, time into this so that people understand. If it is crucial to your story that they understand this like magic system you put in, definitely spend the time, even if they have to have multiple conversations on it, because if they spend the rest of the book being confused, well, then you got problems and they got problems, and your book is not going to be received well if they're just sitting there like, why is this happening? And and at a certain point they're just going to be like, I don't even care, and then you're done. They're on the next thing. So avoid those roadblocks. Definitely take the time to massage in that information. Next is, what is your thoughts on the main character? This isn't the most important question, but it's always nice to get like a little warning when, hey, something's happening with the main character that I wasn't expecting or don't know, and you just kind of can get a little bit of a, get an idea of what's going on. So, not the most important question, but I definitely still feel it's worthy. What are your thoughts about other characters? So, it kind of follows the same thing with the main character, but it gives your readers a chance to be like, yo, this secondary character isn't getting a lot of spotlight. Hey, I like him, I don't like him, that kind of stuff. Is there anything else you'd like to see from this chapter? This gives them the opportunity to say like, hey, I would really like this to be beefed up. It may not be something that's confusing. It could be something that's really interesting, like, oh, I was really enjoying this part, and I would love for them to go into a little bit more depth. On the other hand, you know that if you told them more about this certain plot mechanic, it would ruin the story. But you know that, hey, they're engaged. They want to know more about this, specific topic. Okay. Next is, what do you expect to happen next? This is really, really great, and I love it because sometimes my beta readers will, they can start predicting what's happening early on. And then you can see how those predictions change. You'd be like, oh, this person's going to die. This person's going to, this person's going to get married. This person's going to fall in love, whatever. And they may think it and see in the beginning, and then you can start seeing how those things are going to change throughout the book. Those predictions change. And that's great because now you know, okay, you wrote your book. This is what people are thinking. Do you want to turn them on their head? Do you want to mess with them? Did you put in too much foreshadowing? Do you need to take it out? So these are really great opportunities for you to say, like, am I driving them in the right direction? Do I need to steer them off path? It only takes a few words for, to lead your readers just, off in another direction. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you enjoy this chapter? On a scale of 1 to 10, how eager are you to read the next chapter? You almost would think that they're the same, but they're not. You can enjoy a chapter, but that does not mean you're eager to read the next one. Great pro tip, and I've learned this more from watching TV than from books, is that when you end on a cliffhanger, people are like, well, now I need to read the next chapter, which is good and bad. Like, you can't just end every chapter on a cliffhanger. Don't get me wrong. It's cool and it keeps people going, but your readers also need a break. They need a break, man. They just can't keep going. They need to be able to take like a little rest and say, like, okay, this is a good chunk. So, again, you're making ups and downs. There are highs and lows. You can't have a fight every single chapter, and you can't have no fights every single chapter. Something has to be happening, and it's those highs and lows that make interest. All right, and my final question is always, do you have any additional comments? And this actually comes more from me doing interviews with people, because I found that in my interviews that when you ask someone, is there anything else that you want to say, or anything else that you're thinking, that's when they get really honest with you. Just like, man, none of these questions fit. And I don't expect people to fill this out every time, but there's a really good chance that what they wanted to say this whole time will show up in here. So it's a great little question to just end with. All right, so you have your beta readers, you have your data collection set up, you are basically thinking you're good to go. Now what do? Well, it's time to get kind of the ball rolling. You invite the people to do the beta reading. So first thing I'll do is I'll just email everyone, and I will outline exactly what is going on. Explain in your email invitation what a beta reader is, the who, what, where, when, and why. I've actually made a full video on beta reading specifically for beta readers that covers this. Just like everything, it's in the description below. So in your invitation, also include things like, hey, I'm looking to have this beta reading done in the next 90 days. 90 days is a very safe amount of time. But also for you authors out there, be aware that most beta reading won't actually start until 30 days before the due date, when you send out a reminder that says, just so you guys know, beta reading ends in 30 days. Where, of course, you're just going to tell them that you're going to be sending them, a link, probably something on Google Drive or maybe a physical copy, so that they're able to read the book. And then, of course, information about the data collection that they're going to be doing and, how to fill it out. There may be some technical issues. Some people may be comfortable doing it one way or not another. So just be aware to, you're going to have to explain this to them. The last thing I like to put in my beta invitations is something like a reward. Let your beta readers know that you are very, very grateful for what they're doing. They are sacrificing the most valuable resource in the world, and that is time. Time, you don't get more of. Money, you can make more. Time, not so much. So they are sacrificing time to do something for you. So, let them know that you appreciate it. As gratitude, I put all my beta readers in the special thanks section of the book, as well as I offer to take them out to lunch and give them a free book, just, hey, as a thank you, because you've been so kind to me. So once you've got your overall beta invitation complete, now you send out your invitation for your data collection. So this is really only involved if you're doing the digital version like I would. So I essentially send out the initial invitation saying, yo, here's all the stuff you need to know. Also, data collection invite is coming too. which will just kind of piggyback. So that way people are aware, like, hey, these things are coming in case something gets stuck in spam or something like that. All right, so your beta invite is out. Your data collection invite is out. What's next? Well, you can finally send them your book. Now, there are a variety of ways to do it. You can provide every one of them a paper printout or whatever. I personally use Google Drive, and I just send them little groupings of chapters as they're cleaned up and ready to go. That's all up to you. Now, here is the ultimate key for the author. Patience. An ungodly amount of patience, because you are going to be sitting there and you are going to wait for however long you told them that you were going to wait. So if you told them 90 days, you're going to be waiting 90 days and just chill. Now, I would tell you as an author to keep an eye on the betas that are coming in, and most betas don't come in until later. But I don't want to say be on top of them, but just let them know where you're standing, because if you've gave them 100,000 word book to read and it's 2 weeks before, that's not a lot of time, and especially when you want good information. Okay, how good can those surveys be when they're just trying to blow through the book as fast as they can to make sure that they fulfill their commitment? So I don't want to say like be on top of them and mean. I mean, again, they are doing something for you, but that said, you just kind of like let them know where they are and what you're hoping for them to do. But please be courteous, because remember, they're doing this for you. And now for the final-ish step, which is data analysis, which for me is really enjoyable as someone who loves marketing, loves spreadsheets, and loves looking at trends. The author side of me typically dies a little bit, because you're actually looking at the results of the information. So what you're going to end up doing, depending on how you've set up your data collection, you're going to start organizing it. So what I end up doing is I start organizing the data. Everything for chapter 1 is together, everything for chapter 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Then I match all the questions together, okay? And then you start looking for things that are similar, or if they're varied, or whatever. So if you see a bunch of people saying, hey, this doesn't make sense in chapter 3, well, then you know you have a problem. If you have a few outliers, that's all right. It's okay to have 1, 2, 3 people thinking different things, and they can be all over the place. What you're looking for are trends, okay? Where people are not understanding something, they're going in a direction that you don't want them to do, and this is your opportunity to fix it. Now, as I mentioned before, you don't have to do anything with this information. You can completely throw it out if you so choose. But I will tell you, ignoring the trends in what your readers' responses are will hurt you. Like, these people are basically telling you there is some type of flaw in the communication that you're providing. And if you can fix it, you are making leaps and bounds. And then comes editing, which really I'm not going to cover, because if you've made it to a beta reading, you definitely know how to edit and do all that other jazz. So just go back, make your decisions on what you think needs to be changed, and you're done. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing, or at least watching one of my other videos that, YouTube suggests. Peace.